Fishies are back. I gotta love seeing that. We have Rika leaping into action and Chain Burn? Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. We're back at it with water control yet again, and you know, I don't see a lot of people out here, I feel like, genuinely really liking the water stuff anymore. Ever since we got the Full Armored Exceeds package now, this deck feels a lot more consistent, personally, than it was, and I think that's a good thing, actually. Having this deck be a lot more consistency upgrades are always going to be very welcome, and this build did choose to actually main deck the one of Goes and Match. You know, ever since the floodgates got checked along the way, they feel a lot less useful, in my personal opinion. So to still see, obviously, you know, you can still sack really hard with this. The other thing we have with this build is we don't have Pot of Prosperities. We don't have Pot of Desires. You know, those genuine cards to kind of try to push you in extra waves to kind of do your thing. And to see something, you know, get like a more localized environment here. Like, if they have enough hand traps, they can blast you out of the game. But one of the things I think that genuinely helps this deck out is Barrier Statue of the Torrent. You know, being able to water lock your opponent and they just look at you and go, what is this crap? Like, what am I supposed to do about this? And unfortunately, you know, some decks, obviously Fire has like 0 out to this, except for the, you know, normal summon Arvada attack over. And, well, you know, if they start getting to that phase and then you get your Barrier Statue cratered off, well, you know, at least you can watch everything happen in main phase 2, and then you try to put out the fire. It's definitely not going to happen. Alright, but it is good to see that this deck is challenging things. I also would have liked to have seen Crooked Cook down here for the absolute me-merino, but no Crooked Cook in this. Maybe someday we'll get to see the broken chef man do his thing. Alright, we actually playing, so obviously this is like the splash one of a Row Mage, Rika, Sun Avalon with a Horus package in here. I'm actually shocked that they are playing the Horus stuff in here, but to be honest with you, like, the job of the Horus stuff is to put big monsters on the field so that you can actually do things with them, and they also get you access to the Zombie Vampire. You know what Zombie Vampire does? Oh, wow, you know, my hand is awful. Let's go ahead, let's get some Millie Willies off of the top of the deck here. That way we can find one of these plant monsters so that we can go ahead and special summon, or, you know, our opponent mills off something that just puts us into way better of an advantage. It's kind of crazy just to kind of consider that the Zombie Vampire actually has a place in a plant deck of all things. But once again, I mean, this is a 6-card splash that you're playing in what, like 60-card plant as it is. And I mean, you see, this is what I was afraid of. The first random shuffle here, I draw Hoppy. I'm just like, okay, so 2, 3, 4. Hey, look, 4 times and we got it, and we saw Hoppy in 1. 5, 6, we did see Insetti. So, I mean, just on a quick couple of test shuffles, like, you do end up seeing at least a little bit of this along the way. Once again, don't underestimate, you know, the little things that you can throw into a plant deck out here and have your opponent look at you and go, what's going on here? Also, you know, if you get hand trapped out of your combo line here, maybe you can go ahead and make use of this, and then go ahead and start reverse comboing on up into something else to, you know, be able to do your thing. Extenders will always be very strong things for a deck like this to get off the ground. So cool stuff. This is, so when I first saw this, I was like, what, Chain Burn? Like, what are we doing here? So first of all, Chain Strike is still limited to 1, even to this day. You're not getting, Konami doesn't want you to get more of these, because obviously if we had too many of these, things would get out of hand. But basically, with how crazy some of these fields are getting now, you can very easily ping a ceasefire for probably 2,500 which is kind of scary, actually. The best things that this deck needs to do are, you play not a lot of battle phase stoppers. You've also got the dimension. Well, technically you just need one of these to resolve pinging for like 3,000 damage. I do think one of the most hilarious things that this deck is playing is it's actually packing in 4 copies of Burning Draw. Now remember, if your opponent controls more cards than you do, you can target 1 link monster your opponent controls, draw cards equal to its link rating, and then you cannot normal summon or special monsters the turn you activate this card except for fire monsters. Well, don't say that. I don't. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that, all right? That's just backwards capabilities here. This deck is also playing Sorcerer of Subc here. Now, when this card or your monster's card points to inflict battle damage to your opponent, you can gain that much. And if a player gains life points even during the damage tab, you can make each player take 1,000 damage. You know, realistically, this is a cute card. I don't foresee a world where you're actually going to get this to touchdown. It's kind of cool. We're also playing the Mahama the Fairy Dragon. During your opponent's turn, when either player takes damage, you can special summon this card and apply an effect. So you can gain life points equal to that battle damage or inflict damage to your opponent equal to the damage you took. It's also on a 2,500 body, so you get some good defensive stats here. Not too bad. Next up is more Yubel. I'm going to be very vocal about this. We're going to cover as much Yubel as we can continuously cover on this channel, because this has been the most exciting thing that has kind of come out of more recent days here. What I find very interesting is 2 Beckoning Beast, 2 Opening of the Spirit Gates. They are actually playing 2 copies of the Eternal Favorite. This is a hard one. I think that 2 of this versus 1 of this can be fine. You gotta remember that if your opponent outs the first Eternal Favorite, it's going to be a little bit rougher to try to capitalize and set up on, which it does stink if it actually does happen, but I do think genuinely out here that you've got some options available you're going to try to use. I do think I can get behind 2. The other thing I don't like about this build is when people are just playing the 1 Yubel, the 1 Terran Incarnate. Obviously, this is all pre-Throne. I think once Throne touches down, then I would start messing around with the ratios on these and start wanting to push towards, more copies of Yubel, because the deck is just kind of Fiend Toolbox at this point, And you can also see that because, like, we're playing Tour Guide in here, of all things. Like, the Tour Guide options kind of want to make sure that you can climb up successfully, make whichever little fiend options that you want to go down, I think is pretty strong. And then, of course, poor Shavara still being limited to 1. Outside of that, I think once you get the hang of this and you start going down, the combo lines with the Unchained stuff, you'll kind of start to understand, like, why this deck is so good. And it took, like, honestly, Yubel bridging the gap with the Unchained cards for this to actually kind of start to be noticed as actually, like, a very scary deck for the current meta. So give Yubel a shot, please. The sub deck, it only gets more interesting. Our last list here is Goaty of the Deep Beyond. Yeah, I'm still watching Goaty every single week. I check those tournament results, and I get a little bit excited if Fish did well or if Fish bombed. And unfortunately, it looks like Fish has been kind of starting to fall off. I know, right? We were excited because, we saw very early that the Runic Goaty version was pretty strong, but, I mean, not so much now. You are doing Ready Fusion. You have both of your targets. The biggest thing with this deck is you've got to play really hard for this to do its thing, and if you can slam down or make a way to get into the Goaty of the Deep Beyond on your opponent's turn without them doing, like, a full gas reverse combo on you, you'll be pretty good. I do see that this is playing Goaty Cosmo, which activate these effects in sequence based on the number of banished fish monsters. 1+, your fish monsters cannot be destroyed by battle turn. That's actually pretty good. The activation and effects of your fish monsters cannot be negated on the field. And then 8+, special summon a fish synchro monster from your extra deck. This is treated as a synchro summon. Well, that's kind of cool. I just feel like this is a little bit win more, you know what I mean? Like, if you're reaching those higher levels on this card, maybe, the game has gone on long enough, kind of warrant you winning the game. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how I feel here. But overall, this looks pretty good. I like what I'm seeing. I definitely, I hope that we can get a little bit something more interesting along the way for more of these decks out here, but Oh, okay, it's a start. So what do you guys think about everything? Please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I will see your beautiful faces back in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.